Hey, welcome to the newest episode of Dork Souls Podcast, the show where the dorkiest souls get together and nerd the hell out. I'm one of your hosts, Hector Navarro.
And I'm Lisa Wallen. And today's episode, we talk about video games, which we're going to talk about a lot. But today we talk about our favorite video games, our favorite franchises, video game adaptations, and our thoughts on it. And, you know, just a lot of video games.
Oh, we get into it. It's going to be a great episode, but make sure that you rate us on your preferred platform podcast of choice. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and enjoy the episode.
This is a great start to today's episode. How's it going, Hector?
Pretty good.
How's it going? Welcome to the Dork Souls Podcast, episode 3.
Yeah.
Which feels like a lot more episodes, but it's not. It's literally 3. We're 3 episodes.
Great.
Yeah, I know. It feels like it's been going on too long. So this is our second to last episode. And yes, our last episode we talked about, we've obviously are continuing to talk about dorky things, but we talked about different anime tropes and different anime genres. And then we quizzed each other on our own nerdiness. And turns out I knew where shipping came from. And I'm really proud of myself for knowing that. Yeah.
Star Wars.
Live
That's
long
right.
in being in love.
They're going to do another gross gesture with that because the
Yeah.
way you turned it, you were like,
That's what
and
I'm
then
saying,
you.
there we go. That's for the gay version of it. There you go. But yeah. So what have you been up to, Hector? What's new? I haven't seen you in 2 weeks.
Been doing a lot more stand up, doing some headlining, doing some
Shut up.
flying around the country. It's crazy. It's hard though because I'm constantly booking, but it's like, frankly, I'm gonna get real. I'm losing money on the shows that I'm doing locally, and I really should be.
We're not playing each other right now. I'm gonna start talking about my 2-bedroom apartment.
Go ahead, do it.
Do that. No. What have you actually been up to since you stole my lines?
I stole your lines. I have been doing some traveling in all seriousness because my partner is a voice actor and I accompany her to do anime
we get it, you're in love.
and nerdy conventions, and we're in love, and I don't care who knows it. I'll tell everybody. I'll shout it at the top of the mountaintop. But I've been getting into you've been over and you've helped me with your tall ass. You know how many comic books I have in my garage.
Yeah, not enough.
I have a wall of comics. Not enough. Yeah, well, enough. I have enough. But I have so many that have been just there and I've had for years and I collect them. And there's a bunch that I haven't read yet. Or maybe I've read them, but not in like the new format that I have. Whatever. The point is, I have decided, okay, every time I have to go on a flight, I'm going to grab one of these comic books and just read it on the flight there.
You'll finally become a real comic book fan.
Yeah. Now I'm finally reading them. And you know what? Turns out they're pretty good. The pictures have always been, I've been a fan of, but actually the writing, pretty good. So I've been catching up on Conan the Barbarian. Conan, not Conan. That's
not gonads. Those
not
are your
gonads.
Those are your 2-bedroom apartments.
Not 2-bedroom apartments. Not nut sacks.
Yeah.
Not ball sacks. But Conan. And Conan Conan the Barbarian has these comic books that a company called Dark Horse Comics did like 20 years ago.
I love Dark Horse Comics.
Dark Horse is great. Yep. And they did, in my opinion, they did the sort of definitive version of Conan the Barbarian because they did comic books that were sort of new adaptations of the classic stories that Conan originally appeared in, but they put it all in the correct
My dad loves
order.
Conan the Barbarian, by the way.
Really?
Yes, he does.
I mean, and plus the Arnold movies,
we'll have him on the podcast.
That would be awesome.
Honestly, we probably will if he comes to visit. Yeah.
This is your same dad that I gave you a USS Enterprise to gift to him?
Yep.
And you still haven't done that?
Yeah, I just need him to make his way here.
Okay, easy.
And he can take
sure.
he can take it.
She can't ship it. It doesn't fly there on its own.
It's not Star Trek wine. Okay.
Exactly. That you can ship. But I've been reading these Conan comic books from 20 years ago. And they went for like a good 10 years or more. Like they basically covered this.
Wait, did they ever make a movie out of it?
Of Conan the Barbarian? Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's what I figured. Because there's that one scene, the weird sex scene.
You're going to have to be more specific. There's more than maybe one weird sex scene in Conan
where the
Barbarian.
woman like becomes a demon.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I remember that as a kid.
First of all, they fucked. And then like in the middle of the experience.
Yeah.
She like turns into like, she has like teeth and she's kind of this witch. And young Conan is like, oh, what is this? Get out of here. I don't want this. No. And he throws her into a little fireplace in her hut. And she burns, and it's all this like mystical smoke comes out. Is it
sad? That's the only thing I remember from Conan the Barbarian.
That kind of explains a lot about you, I think, Lisa. That's all you, Because
like my dad, when I was a kid, he would always just put on his like movies, like his old sci-fi movies, comic book movies, whatever. And I grew up on a lot of great films because of it. But
that's all you remember about Conan the Barbarian.
I have vague memories, and that is one that really struck with me because I think it was like, imagine that being the first sex scene you see in a movie ever.
Is it the first one that you remember seeing?
That's one of the first ones I ever remember seeing.
I got you beat. You want to hear a more embarrassing story?
Yes.
I don't know if I've told you this one. It's 1998, maybe 1999. My mom goes to the video store, which was a thing that used to exist for the young people watching, where you would get physical media, a VHS tape or a DVD. And she goes to rent a movie that she goes just like, I want to go rent a movie. So I forget for whatever reason, but it was just me and my younger sister. My dad, I think, was out of town. My mom is like, okay, we're going to watch this movie. It's like 4 p.m. She's like, oh, this looked funny. It looks like a comedy. So she puts on the DVD in our DVD player. This might have been like a Friday afternoon after school or something. I'm like 11 or 12 years old. My sister's like 8. And she puts on this movie and we start watching it, and it stars, let's see if you can figure out what the movie is. It stars Reese Witherspoon. It stars Matthew Broderick.
Oh gosh.
Is it becoming more familiar?
No, keep going.
It is about a high schooler who is running for class president, and Matthew Broderick plays a teacher in the high school. And pretty immediately into this movie, because it is a dark comedy and it is a rated R comedy, it cuts to another teacher that Matthew Broderick, his character, is like friends with and coworkers with, who is bragging about the Reese Witherspoon character, who she's a high schooler. And the first line out of his mouth is, her blank gets so wet. And my mom immediately like, okay, like jumped up at it, like just.
Don't we love how outdated? For one thing, what movie is it?
Election.
I say I never watched Election.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like it wasn't like a big, broad, it wasn't like There's Something About Mary or Dumb and Dumber. It wasn't this comedy. It was a comedy for a very niche, It
is very funny to see, like, when you go back and watch the movies from like the 90s and early 2000s, and it's like how horrible, outdated the plots were.
But at least like the plot of this movie is that's already horrible. That there's a teacher that's having an affair with the student.
What was the one where Drew Barrymore was the undercover student?
Never Been Kissed.
Yeah, and it's
also
like
awful.
what? Right? What I mean, it's like, who is writing all these like weird teacher-student fantasy type things? Like, we love it, don't we? That's like
terrible.
Movies like Wayne's World are timeless. Like, it's just, these are just pure goofy fun.
The Sandlot. The Sandlot has a moment that is like kind of messed up, but then the movie tries to make it okay, and it's definitely just like a young boy fantasy. But when Squints drowns himself in the pool just so that the gorgeous lifeguard.
Very anime pilled, honestly. Like,
Mark, thoughts on that? Mark?
Wait, what's wrong with that?
Okay, well, didn't
everybody do that?
The woman who was the young woman who I don't know if she was supposed to be a teenager, so she was supposed to be like 20 years old, and Squints was like 10. I don't remember what the age difference was. If it was like, oh, they're both under 18, but it was still like completely inappropriate. But then the voiceover was like, they ended up getting married and they've got like 12 kids or something, because like as they're leaving the pool because they got kicked out, she's like looking at him like this, and this magic moment.
Like the American Pie era too was really bad.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, prom queen passed out in her bed. We gotta do something to her.
It's Revenge of the Nerds stuff. It's gross. But this movie Election, my mom just like jumped up and took it immediately out of it. And then the best part is she took the DVD out of the DVD player and like put it away. Then she turns to me and she goes, she was trying to have a mom moment, and she goes, Hector, I just want you to know that like that's true for some women. It's not true for all women. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make it like she tried to let me know, like, don't have an expectation.
And you're like, I didn't process any of this. Well, so my favorite movie, I don't know if I ever told you what my actual favorite
Election's not my favorite movie. I'm not trying to say it's my favorite movie.
I know. But I'm saying, like, now we're talking about movies from when we were kids. One of the movies my dad put on all the time became my favorite movie. And I don't know if I ever told you this. We'd watch it
Conan the Barbarian.
No. We watched it every Friday night.
Okay.
with my cousins.
Okay.
Because my uncle would come over and smoke weed with my dad.
Tell me what it's about and tell me who's in it. See if I can guess it.
I can't tell you who's in it.
Okay.
Because I don't remember.
Okay.
But it was made, I believe it's 1974, 79. Really crappy sci-fi, really crappy filmed sci-fi film where these spaceships go and crash down on a planet full of dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs basically kill everybody, except for at the very end, they try to, they kill like the main dinosaur.
Ship.
They repair the ship. They kill the main big dinosaurs, and then they try to repopulate the planet. This is my favorite movie as a kid. It's called Planet of the Dinosaurs.
I have to watch this. I should have guessed that title.
It is so bad. You can look it up right now as I explain it. It's called Planet of the Dinosaurs.
Planet of the Dinosaurs.
I don't remember what year it came out. I believe it was the 70s, but I thought it was so funny. It was the funniest movie I ever watched when I was a kid because it's like really shitty 70s CGI.
But it wasn't a comedy. It was trying to be sincere.
It was trying to be sincere. Like they would just take
What year did that come out?
1977.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they would get like just instead of making like dinosaurs, it would just be like giant spiders that they would just have walk around.
So funny.
And it would just like start stabbing humans like this. And you could just see like little sticks coming out. And like the bloods would like splatter like cartoonishly.
Oh my gosh.
But I watched this when I was like 5 and I was obsessed with the film. And then I rewatched it when I was older, really high. And I was like, this is still the funniest movie I've ever seen.
Okay,
it's still so bad and so funny.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's like one woman would be swimming in the water and the dinosaur get her, and then all of a sudden there's just blood like fly. Like what? It's so cartoony.
Well, Hector, let me see if you could have guessed the movie based off the cast.
Okay.
Mary Appleseth.
Nope, I'm out.
Pamela Bottaro.
Pamela
Charlotte Spear.
No.
And Harvey Shane.
Harvey Shane. They don't make movie star names like they used to. You know?
They don't.
If you look up like the cast list for like the Wizard of Oz or something, it's always like and Dickie Smalls and like Richard Biggs,
Dick Sargent.
Yeah,
Sergeant
Dick Sargent.
Dick. There you
Sergeant
go.
Dick.
Yeah.
Those names are great. Really
but anyways,
great.
so that's my only memory of Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, cool. We should watch Conan again though. That one holds up. It's a good movie.
I loved
Crumb, hear me now.
Crumb.
I loved all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies when I was a kid.
Sure.
Like my dad.
Which one's your favorite? Because Conan's not even my favorite.
True Lies.
Oh, interesting.
And Kindergarten Cop.
You want my invitation? Here's my invitation.
And Terminator 2 and Jingle All the Way. There's 4 of them.
Oh my God.
Are they? But they're all bangers.
Name one. No, they're not all at the same level. Did you just put Jingle All the Way at the same level as Terminator 2 Judgment Day?
Absolutely.
Stop, Lisa.
Yes,
stop.
it's so good. Turbo Man?
No,
are you kidding me?
Stop.
No, it's so good. Okay.
Oh
Listen, my 4 favorite anime are not in the same bracket, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, Jingle All the Way is my favorite Christmas movie because I also love Phil Hartman.
Yeah, he is fantastic in that.
Peace.
Sinbad is also really funny.
I also love Kindergarten Cop because obviously it's Kindergarten Cop. It's also one of the greatest quotable movies of all time.
It's very quotable. Yep, it's true.
True Lies is like if I just want to watch like mindless, fun action film, I love.
You're fired.
Yeah,
it's great.
I just love when he was when J.B. Lee Curtis like, did you kill anyone? And he goes, yes, but they were all bad.
Yes.
That's like one of my favorite lines.
They're all bad.
But they're all bad. And obviously Terminator.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was in everything though. So
yeah, he worked a lot, but he made like really smart decisions career-wise.
Yeah, he didn't burn himself out like a lot of actors do, where they just continuously like you quoted Anchorman, like Will Ferrell was on the top of the comedy world and then really burnt himself out.
I think so. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I know that no actor, whether they're a comedic actor or like an action movie star, like sets out to make any crappy movie. But it did feel like, at least in the beginning of Arnold's career, he was really picky and choosy. And he was like, I'm going to work with James Cameron because he did Aliens. And I'm going to, and he did The Abyss or whatever. And I'm going to keep working with him. But no, I think he actually did Terminator 1 with James Cameron before Cameron did Aliens, right? Didn't he? Aliens was 86. Terminator 1 was like 84. So he did do the first Terminator movie.
Wait, so what is your favorite Arnold movie?
Terminator 2.
Oh,
Judgment Day.
See?
I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a fucking just the worst high five ever.
We got to get some contact on there.
Nice.
All right.
Wait,
nice
so
awkward.
for are they making a new Conan the Barbarian? Or
No.
you're just reading them now?
These old comics are from 10 years ago, and it's the comic book that is the literary character. That's what it's based off of. And it sets up his entire life from when he's a young man to when he eventually becomes a king of his own.
Has there been any weird sex scenes?
Weird
Demonic
sex?
ones?
Oh, I don't think so. But there's been, this is not funny, but I just read a story that was like, because he falls in love with a pirate woman named Belit, and that's kind of his like OTP, but she dies. And she's fated to die. Yes, but spoiler alert from a story written in like 1932, Queen of the Black Coast. And she, they did a really great job of like covering he's like 26 years old when he meets her, and they fall in love, and it's really, really passionate and strong. They go back to his homeland, and she hates it there. It's too cold. They go to her homeland, and Conan is like rejected. And so I was like reading it, and I'm like, this is very relatable for a young couple that's like trying to figure it out. And, I gotta go meet the parents. And it's like, your mom hates me. Like, it is all, I'm like, this is not what I expected in a Conan the Barbarian story. But I'm now getting up to the point where I'm like wrapping up with this one storyline, and I'm excited to because I've had it on my shelves for years, dude.
Yeah.
And now I'm finally.
You make me feel less bad for not reading all of my manga.
No, not at all. Don't feel bad. Don't ever feel bad.
Also, people just keep gifting me stuff, and it's like I'm not.
As they should.
Yeah,
as they should.
Money would be great.
As they should.
Yeah, but
money, please.
I can use that, but like I have so many books and things, and like you said, like
what do you do what is your book collecting? Because you don't have a big collection.
I used to have a big collection.
Really?
I sold a lot of my manga before I moved here.
Okay, that's good.
Because I was like, I don't need 500 volume. I had like maybe 1/3.
500 volumes.
I mean, there are some. I mean, look at One Piece.
Yeah. Did you have all of One Piece?
No, I had a lot of Naruto.
Oh.
I started collecting, and then I was like, this is too much. And so I ended up like selling him and giving away. I gave some to my neighbor because she helped me with moving and stuff.
That's good.
And same with like My Hero Academia. But now I'm collecting ones where like Mob Psycho only has 17 volumes.
Done.
And that's done. I'm collecting that.
Yeah.
Way of the House Husband, also very short series.
Yeah, good.
Golden Kamui, very slow. If I'm like, if I'm obsessed with it currently and I have no place to read it, sometimes I'll get the volumes. Like I love One Punch Man.
Great.
And I like owning the physical copies.
And how many of those volumes have come out? Is it over? Is it still ongoing?
It's like in their 20s now.
And they're still going?
It's still going.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I own up 19.
Do you like? I like the little paperbacks, but do you ever want to get? Do you have like the hardcovers of any?
So that's why I like Dark Horse.
They do it. They do it.
They do. They're doing the hard because I want to read Berserk.
Cool. And
I got the leatherback Berserk volume. That's basically like instead of
many leather-bound books.
Yeah.
Smells of rich mahogany.
And they're doing it with Trigun too.
Cool.
And I feel like they need to do this with more manga because yes, I don't want to own 100 fucking volumes.
I know.
Because it's not like comic books where they're thin.
True.
They're always thick and short, which I'm like...
Just like me. And you hate shit that is thick and short. You say, get it out of here. I like tall and thin. I'm shallow.
Like you can't stack manga.
Yeah.
Like comic book is like so tiny.
You know what I didn't tell you too? I just was at a convention and I saw Hunter x Hunter. They just put them out in volume 1, 2, and 3 in one.
Yeah.
And I like those very thick.
Yeah.
Very short, very thick. But I like
short.
I like when they put 3 in 1. I think that's cool.
I like the Berserk because also just the art is amazing.
What is Berserk about?
Berserk is about a guy named Guts who is just fated to have the worst life in the world. Okay. That's all I know so far.
So it's like
it's very
John
dark
Wick or
so
like...
me, it's like very... I haven't even read it yet. I literally own the first volume.
Beautiful.
First 2 volumes. I want to read them. I got through like the first like 10 chapters and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. But the thing is it's dark fantasy and obviously me, which we're going to talk about today, being a huge Bloodborne Dark Souls fan, a lot of that was inspired by Berserk. Even the hunter symbol, the symbol you gave me on the pogs. I don't think I brought them in. I didn't bring them in, but you got me these little Bloodborne pogs. The hunter's mark of Bloodborne is based off of the symbol, sacrifice symbol, or I don't know what symbol is from Berserk.
Cool.
So I was like, I should read Berserk because this is like in the same realm of what I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to need people to subscribe so that they can come back and get an update from you once you've read it.
Yes, exactly. It'll be a Patreon thing. There you go.
Yeah.
To me, Berserk is like the Earthbound of its own thing, where everyone's like, I'm a huge Earthbound fan, but I've never played it. It's like Berserk. I'm a Berserk fan, but I've never actually read it. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Because it's like I just love the art, and I love that it inspired so many things that I love, like Earthbound has. But then it's like I actually sat down and played through Earthbound and Mother 3, and I was like, oh my god, these hold up. I can tell why people love these, and now Berserk is the next thing I gotta tackle.
I think that was the case for me with Akira or Akira.
Akira.
Where everyone is like a fan of the movie because it's incredible, but I don't know that many people. I do know a lot of comic book fans and comic book people that have read that, but I think it was also Dark Horse that actually put out like recent kind of like nice collections of like the comic book, beginning to end. And I got them all a couple years ago, and I was like, you know what? I need to read this because of how much this influences everything else I love.
Yeah.
And it's sick, dude. It's really good.
Well, I need to read it.
It's really good. Yeah.
Bannon knows it.
You can borrow it if you want. I have it
Bannon
all.
has all of them too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was like, oh my God. A lot of my, that's the thing about Akira is that a lot of my friends that aren't into manga own the comic books.
Yes.
That was like one of their first things they ever started drawing. It was like the first thing that inspired, like basically all of anime was inspired from that.
I know.
Anime now, I should say. Even Mob Psycho, this guy, that
really?
whole series was inspired by Akira. Akira. There you go.
Akira?
I have to say it because people will get mad. They'll be like, you're actually saying it wrong. I'm like, I'm not Japanese.
But
you know what I'm talking about. That's all that matters.
To me, in my ears, there's at least 2 ways to say it, and probably many more because there's many languages on earth. I don't know what to tell you. If somebody comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Hector," that is a correct way to pronounce my name.
Your name is not Hector.
No, I mean it is.
Yeah.
But then another person could say Hector, and that's correct. So don't jump up somebody's ass if they say Akira or Akira.
Oh, I get it a lot.
It's
Same thing
fine.
on stream. Like I'm gonna talk about this too. Like I just built Gundam Barbados.
Okay.
And I said Barbados.
Yeah, like the country.
Like, Barbados. And I was like, are you saying that on purpose? And it's just like, I don't fucking care.
Who cares?
I don't care. Did you build
grass,
it? No,
dude.
I built it.
I can name it whatever I want.
I will talk about that at the end of the episode.
Okay.
Because today's episode, we're going to talk about video games.
Great.
Because who fucking cares? Do we have to have a specific subject for everything? No. Here's the thing. I'm playing a lot of video games. Okay. So is Hector. So that's what we're going to talk about. Well, Hector, you own a lot of video games.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm collecting them.
Yeah. You are the Berserk fan of video games right now. You just own all the games.
I have them. I know.
Because you got what's the thing called? The polyamory thing?
The Mega is what it is. No judgment to whatever anybody's lifestyle is. No judgment. But I was telling Mark all about it, and he was like, "I'm not into your poly lifestyle, man." I said, "No, hang on. This is a video game thing that collects all the video games, and you put it in one thing." Anybody listening right now that's familiar, they're like, "No, we got it."
He looks like he has something to say.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the machine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. Okay, great.
But I need that, but I also don't need that in my life.
No, it's a lot. But but that's why I was like, I told Mark and Alex here at the studio, I was like, I'll bring it and set it up, and we could maybe do some cool gaming stuff, and we could, and they were like, cool, do that. So whenever these guys give me the go ahead, I'm gonna bring it. But I feel like I'm happy to have the burden.
But you do play video games, though.
Sure, yeah, I do.
I mean, you're obviously
right now. I'm just reading comics. I'm really into that right now.
I think a lot of people, when it comes to nerdy interests, they think that you cover everything. They'll be like, "Oh, you must also read comics." Like it's
impossible.
It's like when I go on a date with someone who's not a nerd, and they start sending me Star Wars memes,
right? And you're like, "This is not my thing."
Like,
and then you forward them to me. You're like, let me send this to my friend Hector.
And it's the cutest thing in the world. I had a guy do that for like 6 months. He's like, she's a nerd. She'll love this. And it's like dating someone who's into football, and I send him like baseball memes.
Yep.
It's like, yeah.
Yep.
So when everyone's like, why aren't you watching any anime right now? Why aren't you reading this? It's like, I'm doing the other nerdy thing.
Yeah.
I can't do all of it.
Yeah.
I have to also somehow make money and eat and survive and work out and all that shit.
I have to do dishes, man.
But yeah, I just beat Bloodborne New Game Plus.
What is that? What is New Game Plus?
See, that's one of those terms where I thought everyone would know, but even you as a gamer don't know.
I know DLC. Is it like DLC?
No. So what New Game Plus, and this only happens in certain games. It's actually much more newer now. This wasn't really a thing back in the day.
I know.
But basically, I know.
That's why I'm like, what is this?
It's like when you beat a game, you can either continue your run or go into the next game. A New Game Plus usually has new features. The enemies are harder.
Actually, this is a feature that dates all the way back to the original Mario. Do you remember that on the Nintendo?
Yeah,
you beat it, and then it would just be like, do it again, and the enemies were a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's New Game Plus.
Zelda as well. If you punched in the name Zelda instead of Link at the end of beating that game, it'd be like you can
Master Quest.
Master Quest.
Or they play the music weird or some shit.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, those are more like Easter eggs.
Okay, but this is like a full like
New Game Plus is specifically like, you want the specific ring, you can only get it if you beat this enemy in New Game Plus, or there'll be new enemies respawn.
Now, when you say you just beat this game in New Game Plus, is this a new thing that was just released?
No. So what it is well, now it's because I want to platinum the games because I'm insane. insane.
Yeah.
I was like, why not get all the trophies?
100%.
You know? And so I beat the game again in the second part, which is the new game plus.
Okay.
And the thing is for me, I like playing those games all the way through a second time because they are so hard. So the first time I played through it, I'm like, this took me like 80 hours to beat.
Yeah.
I think I can do it way quicker my second time.
Sure.
So the second time I beat it, it took me like 30 hours. Because I was like, oh, I already know what to do, know where to go, blah, blah.
Yep.
But then I got to a point where I was like, oh, yeah, because it's New Game Plus, there's going to be new shit. There's going to be new enemies. There's also going to be harder enemies. Like some of the bosses I still struggled on. But then I noticed a lot of things about the game that I didn't notice earlier.
Yeah, when you spend 50 fucking hours in something, I would hope so.
I mean, don't you ever, same thing with like, because you love Shadow of the Colossus.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Maybe
How
my
many
favorite
times have
game
you
of all
played
time.
it?
All the way through, maybe twice.
But see, when you played it that second time, you start to discover and
100%.
notice things that you didn't notice on the first time.
I love getting to that level with a game because it really does. It becomes then a conversation between you as the recipient of the art and then the artist or the game designers and developers. And you go, oh, you guys, look at what you did. Look at all these little tiny details that
game is actually a good example too, because that game is specifically meant to be replayed.
Yeah.
Because they don't tell you anything. There's no,
there's no set order.
It's kind of set like these From Software games are, who make Bloodborne and Dark Souls and whatnot, where there's no direct storytelling. You just end up you just open the game and you're like, I got a little bit of a lore backdrop, but I don't know I'm just going to go and figure it out. And the thing about the Souls games is all the lore is explained in item descriptions.
Yes, I've seen you Twitch game this. Did I sound so old saying it like that? Jesus Christ.
I've seen you stream this.
My God. Hang on, let me make I've seen you Twitch game this.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that, you do talk about that. You'll open up a thing and you'll sit there and read it and I'll be like, "Oh, this is interesting."
Yeah, cuz you'll find a weapon in like a random zone.
And then all of a sudden it starts making you cry cuz you're like, "What? I didn't know that about this weapon."
Yeah.
And his backstory.
Not to be a huge spoiler, my favorite weapon in Dark Souls 3 is called the Hollow Slayer Greatsword.
Hollow Slayer Greatsword.
Yeah.
What's the sad backstory there?
And I'm gonna tell you.
Go ahead.
I love that sword. It was my favorite sword to play, and it was just like, oh, it just fit my build, blah blah. And in Dark Souls 2, I'm introduced into a character called Lucas Heel, and it ended up being her sword because she ended up going hollow, which is like in Dark Souls world, like that's bad. You don't.
That's death.
Yeah, it's basically you become like a lifeless human that's just wandering in the abyss.
Gotcha.
Like there's nothing there.
Gotcha.
So you're hollow. And so when I got the sword in Dark Souls 3, I had not played Dark Souls 2 yet. So I was just like, oh, I just love the sword, blah, blah, blah. And then I played Dark Souls 2, realizing that was her sword. And I was like, well, now I got to do New Game Plus on Dark Souls 3 and get the sword and read the lore about it. And where did you pick up the sword? That's how things start to connect. Because then you're like, okay, well, where do I find the sword in that area? Blah, blah, blah.
I haven't played them. I know the same thing happens between both of the Red Dead Redemption games. Because Red Dead Redemption comes out, and then years later they did Part 2, but Part 2 was a prequel. So people were playing Part 2 with like, oh my God, this lore is the thing that pays off in the first game.
It's like the Yakuza games too. Yakuza 0.
Sounds like every video game does this, and that's cool.
I love it though. Like I never played Yakuza until Yakuza 0.
Okay.
And I played it very recently. That came out in 2015, but before Yakuza 0, they had Yakuza 1 through 5. And Yakuza 0 is like, okay, we're going to go all the way back.
Everything. Yeah.
And how Kiryu and Majima started their whole thing. And that actually made the games blow up. Nobody played the previous ones, really.
And now people are going back.
And then Yakuza 0 came out, and that just skyrocketed its popularity.
Awesome.
And so for people who started playing them on like PS2 and 3, they were like, this is such a huge payoff for us. But also then there's people like me is like, well, I'm just playing 0. I need to play through all of them now.
Yeah.
It's like when we were talking about Metal Gear Solid last time, where it's like,
should I start with Metal Gear on the Nintendo?
And people being like, no, start with Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like you want to play as the release goes or the chronological, and games that's why it's hard to make like movies out of them. And like TV shows.
Really?
I think. Because
interesting.
Like,
I disagree, but go ahead. Keep going.
Wait.
Keep going. Let me get myself situated. All right. I like where this is going.
Now that I hate Dark Souls, you can talk about something else.
No, I like where this is going.
I mean, I think it's because
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
There's too much to jump around.
Okay.
In video games. Like, if you're like, I'm going to make a movie out of this, you're like, okay, even if you take one game, like, they want to make a Metal Gear Solid movie, and they want Oscar Isaac to play Snake, and I think that's going to be fucking amazing.
So far, so good.
But also, what's the story going to be?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's
Or the biggest question mark is, if you're doing something like Zelda, where do you start with making a movie? Because we all have different
Sounds
entry
like you
points.
Agree.
Not necessarily. Now wait. But we all have different entry points for some of these game franchises. If it were up to me and someone said, Hector, you have to decide what kind of Zelda movie we're going to make, I'd say Ocarina of Time. That's my no-brainer choice. That's going to be the first movie.
Mine would be Twilight Princess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would say maybe that's a little
What about you, Mark?
That's a little too risky business. Ocarina of Time. And then I would say this. I'd say, because I'm familiar with that franchise and I know that technically each hero of time is a different Link. It's not the same character.
You want to know why I would disagree with Ocarina of Time?
Go for it.
Because Link needs to be a silent protagonist, because that's the whole point of his character.
I disagree.
That's the reason why his name is Link.
Because it's the link between the player and the game. I know, but keep going. But
I think having a sidekick like Midna to kind of play off of him being a silent protagonist is a good idea.
I agree. But that's also why Navi the Fairy exists in Ocarina of Time. Navi the Fairy.
But actually.
But Navi the Fairy could play that role.
But Navi isn't very personable.
Not the way that you play her in the game, but wait until you see the script that I wrote for this Ocarina of Time movie. Wait till you see the actress I cast to play Navi the Fairy. She's fantastic. And then wait till you see the actor that I cast for Link. It just all depends.
Also, I loved all the Zelda games. Ocarina of Time is the one dearest to my heart because it got me into games. Also, it's the Akira of RPGs. It got everything. It built.
Mark, ideas?
Yeah, you cast Emma Stone as Navi. She's quirky. She's sassy.
Link, listen. Dude, listen. Seriously. That's a terrible Emma Stone.
It should have been.
She's cooler than that.
No, you should just, if they're going to do Navi, they're probably going to they should make it a dude. Just a funny dude.
You think?
Yeah, you just put
like a little Jack Black or something.
Jack Black.
No, it's definitely Seth Rogen. So you get
Seth Rogen. There you go. Right.
Pick up that pot.
I love how many celebrity impersonations you have.
That's also a terrible one.
But Twilight Princess was the first one where I felt like it was a story that I was invested in.
I know. Save it. You gotta save it.
Yeah.
You gotta save it because the first Zelda movie we got to give to a director who I don't know did like one of the Planet of the Apes movies.
They're doing a live action show.
I know.
It's supposed to be so good.
Well, we'll see. But then you save Twilight Princess for Guillermo del Toro. Once you do a successful Zelda movie, then you can entice Guillermo. Be like, come on, come play in the sandbox, and he'll be like, "It sounds pretty good. I'll do it."
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you knew this, but Guillermo del Toro is in Death Stranding.
Yes, you told me.
Yeah, and they use a different voice, and
boo!
It's not his voice.
Should have been his voice.
It's like a little off of his voice, which is like, okay, I don't like that.
Are you sure it's not his voice?
I'm pretty positive.
Okay.
I don't think they had the budget for his whole. Like, he talks in every scene, basically.
Oh my God.
He's like pretty much always in the game. He's like.
So they just got his likeness and sort of motion captured him.
Yeah.
But then brought in a voice actor that's like, we can pay you $200 an hour for your rate of like, because like voicing.
He's like the person who tells you what to do.
Yeah.
Almost. He's like the person you report back to.
Maybe he's too busy.
And there's another guy named Die Hard Man. Not even kidding. That's his name in the game because it's Kojima. But
Guillermo was like, I have to go make Frankenstein and I can't.
I don't think I would be very curious if they did make a movie out of any From Software game like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, or Bloodborne, because all those, like, I have watched hours of lore videos and I still cannot tell you.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
What the fuck the games are about.
Did you ever see? Do you remember the Warcraft movie?
I never watched it. Is it the same thing where it's like just
from Legendary Studios? It's from Legendary. No, I think that my take on that movie is that I think that the people who made it were maybe too close to it, so that they couldn't quite extrapolate that. No, that's Mark. Mark disagrees. No.
I worked for those producers.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
not close to it. Okay.
Nope.
Never mind. I take it back. But I do remember that the director, Duncan Jones, right? Duncan Jones.
That is David Bowie's son.
That's David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, who also directed the movie Moon, which I love that movie. Moon is phenomenal. So Duncan's a really great director. Duncan was a hardcore World of Warcraft player. So he did know the lore. And I remember talking to World of Warcraft fans and being like, what's the overall story? And it's tough to pin down, you know? And for whatever reason, for that movie, they decided, let's tell the story of when the humans meet the orcs. Let's tell that story. And I'm like, okay. but I just don't think it was maybe the right place to start.
When you take different parts of it, there's no way of satisfying the ending to anybody.
True, which is why you just have to find a satisfying beginning. Like if it's oh, you didn't do that one thing I want. Well, we'll get to that in a sequel.
Did you watch the Secret Level episodes?
I watched them all.
Yeah, I did because I reviewed them. But like even some of those were like, okay, this is good, but these are basically trailers more than they are anything. You're just giving us trailers.
Or you could only get a story concept out of this game that's really only going to last 15 minutes.
Yeah, or
I hear you.
Or not at all. Or just an IP that just completely disappeared off the earth after 2 days, like Concord, stuff like that.
I know, that one was a bummer. I like that short. I thought it was fun.
And so,
so what are we talking about? We're talking about turning video games into movies?
That's how we ended up doing.
And you were saying it's impossible to do because we were talking about
I wouldn't say it's impossible.
The difficult thing is when you're a gamer and to play video games that are being released every couple of years or over the course of a decade or more, and they're bouncing around in the story, how can you possibly capture that same experience with like a movie?
I do think, there are some good video games like
sure. What do you think is the best video game movie?
Well, that's a tough question.
I know. I don't know.
Because I also
I actually have an answer for it. I have mine.
Is it Super Mario Brothers from 1992?
No, stop.
No, what is
Not
it?
even ironically. No.
Yeah.
No. My answer would be Werewolves Within. From director Josh Rubin. You got to watch it. It's from a game I'm not super familiar with. I think it was an Ubisoft game. That was like am I saying that right?
Ubisoft?
Mm-hmm. That was like, you got to figure out which one of the players in this sort of like board game style thing is a werewolf. But they basically just took that concept and made a really fun horror comedy that I thought was excellent.
Honestly, I didn't think it was the best, but I do think they did the best they could with the Mario movie.
The animated one?
The only thing I did not like about that was the voice acting. But I thought as far as
some of the voice acting was good. Jack Black as Bowser? Oh boy, okay.
I don't know if that's
Keegan-Michael Key as Toad?
That was good.
Yeah.
and also having Charlie Day as Luigi was good. The rest of it, it's like, I think the problem with having the main actors doing video game character voices is that they don't understand how, the reason why video game characters have a very specific voice is that you, A, don't get bored of it, and A, recognizable. And so if you have Peach just sounding like a hot girl.
Right. Or Chris Pratt was just doing sort of like somewhat of a Brooklyn... kind of a little bit of a New York guy like this, a little bit. And it wasn't quite. Yeah, I know. Should have been a thick Italian accent.
But it's also, that's why I think when they do the series, it's a lot better. Like the Last of Us series.
Sure.
I thought.
Really well done.
Yeah. I had some issues with it.
There were some other ones. Or Fallout. That's a video game
Fallout
TV
one
show.
Came out. There's a lot of video game ones coming out.
Yeah.
But I meant to talk more about video games.
Instead of the shows and the TV shows?
Because I love video games.
Well,
And thing is, a lot of people always ask me or they always say like, oh, did you know they're going to make a show off this? You know they're making, and I'm like,
and you're like, I don't care.
Like, I don't care that they're making a Legend of Zelda series.
True.
Because if they're going to make a series like something like that and they do an amazing job, great. But I'm already a massive Zelda fan. I care way more about the games.
Yeah, that's fine.
I remember when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, I read The Hobbit as a kid. Yeah. And I loved it because my dad forced it onto us. And I remember my dad was in tears, like the fact that they made a Lord of the Rings movie. Like we were in the theaters. That was the only time. It was the first time I ever seen my dad get really emotional. Was
gosh.
Oh my God.
Of course, other than that weird sex scene in Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, obviously. And Planet of Dinosaurs.
Yeah, Planet of the Dinosaurs.
Dramatic, hilarious film.
2001, Fellowship of the Ring. He's emotional. You're in the theater.
Yeah. And I think because that's like you're seeing you're seeing words come to life.
Yes.
It's not like a video game where you're already playing a motion of thing. It's like him's like, they had like the weird Lord of the Rings cartoons before that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
They did have the Legend of Zelda cartoon.
Yeah.
Excuse me, princess.
Well, excuse me. They had Captain N, the game master. Yeah, I get that. Your take is like, well, I think I agree with that.
Also, Peter Jackson made it.
I know.
Peter Jackson isn't making the Legend of Zelda TV show.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny too is before the Lord of the Rings movies, you know what Peter Jackson was making?
He was making like action.
Puppet sex movies.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Like Meet the Feebles.
Meet the Feebles is what I'm talking about. Like weird indie, like, funny, fucked up sense of humor, horror movies and stuff like that. Like, I think his biggest movie before Lord of the Rings may have been The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox.
Wait, I liked Meet the Feebles.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. But it's crazy to see that guy Or another movie that he did that was really, really indie when he was real young called Bad Taste, with like over the top gory special effects. You know, he shot this movie in New Zealand with his friends on weekends as they were like, you know, doing their normal 9 to 5. I love that
and
stuff.
then he was like, what if I did a Lord of the Rings film
It's
here?
crazy. And New Line Cinema was like, okay, here's a check that's literally blank. As much money as you need
also,
to. It's
movies
crazy.
were a lot different back then because they didn't have streaming services ruining everything.
Mhm.
Like going
It's
to
true.
the theaters was like a cinema. It was literally a
So,
cinematic.
But my question to you though, in this, when you use Lord of the Rings, that's such a great example, Lisa. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
The example that you provided is like, I think what you're describing too, it's best case scenario.
Yeah.
It's somebody, a movie studio and a director that comes along and they made for your dad and for you, you're a fan of The Hobbit. Best case scenario, your dad was
Even though the
moved.
Hobbit movies are like, but
but still,
yeah.
the Lord of the Rings movies, they're still kind of untouched.
Yeah.
Like people adore those movies. And I ask you, do you think that Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth, The Hobbit book, all those books, all that fandom grew because of those movies?
Oh, absolutely.
So do you think there's a possibility that if a video game movie comes along is actually excellent, that it could just help
I mean,
the thing that you're already
Breath
into?
of the Wild did that.
Yeah, it did.
A lot of people.
It
Breath
did.
of the Wild was a lot of people's first Zelda game.
Absolutely.
And then this is where I get mad.
Mhm.
Nintendo, why don't you release the other Zelda games so people can actually play them? Like
on the Switch.
On the Switch.
Modern
no,
consoles,
No
yeah.
one can play Wind Waker. No one can play Twilight Princess. They released a really crappy port of Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
And then if you
And they've got some of the stuff on the online shop,
but you have to pay the membership to do it.
Ah.
So it's just a thing where it's like you didn't make it accessible for people, which I think is the biggest mistake. It's like if you're gonna release a thing and want people to be excited about it, give them the accessible.
And it blows up.
Like even now,
Yeah.
like if they release the Metal Gear Solid movie and people love Metal Gear Solid, there's no way to play those old games without getting a fucking PS3
or a Polymega, baby. See, that's what I was future proofing it. See?
And that's the thing is like
That's right.
you can't
Yeah.
go on PC and play the games.
I know.
Like I had to borrow someone's PS3. Someone
To
gave
play-
it to me in like
yeah.
a drug deal in order for me to play Peace Walker and Metal Gear Solid 3.
Whoa.
And 2 and 1 I played on there.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I think 4 and 5 or 4
Wait,
too.
if I
4,
go on my PlayStation 5,
you cannot play them.
I can't buy a digital version of them somewhere.
No, only 5.
That's stupid, dude.
Yeah.
There should be a Metal Gear Solid collection where you just click it.
I think they probably will now with the Snake Eater remake coming out this
$100.
year.
Dun, dun, dun,
They're,
dun, dun.
they're
Every game.
remaking Snake Eater. That was another thing I want to talk about.
Man.
Which is my favorite Metal Gear. I'm not
What is Snake Eater?
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
Cool.
was and David Hayter is
Mhm.
he's the voice actor for Snake. He is
Mhm.
Snake. Everyone's like, you know who
Mhm.
David Hayter is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. He made the Watchmen movie.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he write it?
He did.
I think he also wrote on X-Men 2,
yeah,
I think.
he's a Hollywood dude, but also
Awesome.
the voice of Snake. And
Awesome.
it's very much who he is as a person. So
Awesome.
I might play it. I'm not a big fan of remakes to begin with. Like
Mm.
everyone's like, why aren't you excited?
But you
Like,
already just played 3, so why are you
Yeah.
you're not
but
gonna
I
play the
also
remake,
like the
right?
original was great.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
they remade Ocarina of Time, sure. I still think
with better graphics, whatever that means.
Yeah, they did that
But
with
part of the
the-
appeal is the polygonal. That's part of it,
yeah,
right? That's what
know,
you need.
Link's Lara Croft titties. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that was the thing.
Yeah. I guess it depends because
Yeah.
I saw they did a remake of Link's Awakening for the Game Boy, but
Yeah.
on the Switch with new colorful graphics and stuff for the kids, and it was great. People
It's
really liked
great.
it. It's great. So
Yeah.
like that's cool. But to your point, Nintendo, make it so that people can still get the Game Boy
Elden
version
Ring was a
somewhere.
lot of people's first From Software game.
Yep.
And you can play, the Dark Souls series.
When did that series start? PS3, PS4?
Oh yeah. It started with Demon Souls on PS3, and
PS3?
before that
Jeez.
they made a bunch of weird games. They made the Armored Core games. They made like
I'm stupid. I think PS3 is still recent.
no, you're
'Cause
not.
yes,
you're not
yeah,
stupid.
yes.
Because millennials have lived through every
Yep.
generation of gaming that everything is still new. They
Yeah.
are still releasing games for PS4 still to this day, even though PS5 has been out for 4 years.
That makes
now.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Because some people don't have
and,
PS5.
and
yeah.
that's what I mean by the accessibility
Yeah.
of being like, not everyone has money and the time and the resources
Yeah.
to get the new thing.
I agree.
I
agree, Lisa.
Yeah, right. And it's tough because Bloodborne, I'm like, everyone, if you played the From Software games, you have to play Bloodborne. You can only
Mm.
play Bloodborne on PS4 and PS5. You can't play it anywhere else. Sony refuses to remaster it. They refuse to give it out to other things. Like, so it's a PS4 exclusive that has never been touched since it came out.
But there's a version on PS5 you could get and play it on PS5.
Yeah, but the PS4,
it's a PS4 game. That's fine.
Yeah.
It hasn't been like updated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, cool. Like if all these things come out to get people excited, give them the option to do it. Because
I agree, dude.
Because everybody, when they were messaging me about Breath of the Wild, that was like my Christmas. It's like, oh, you guys, I was a fake gamer in high school, not playing Call of Duty because I was playing all the fucking Zeldas. Now you want to play all the fucking Zeldas.
Yeah.
And then I have to explain like, okay, listen, this is none of them are like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is very much Shadow of the Colossus.
It's true. That's true.
They're going to be a lot more like, they're not going to be open world. There's going to be a lot more direction. There's going to be a formula that I love in Zelda games. I'm not a big fan of how it's changed over time.
The Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom formula?
I loved Breath of the Wild, and then I was like, I don't need this again.
Oh.
I was like,
you want something new?
Yeah, I want something new. I love the Link's Awakening remake that came out after Breath of the Wild. And I was like, beautiful. New art style, new direction.
And now they did a sort of a sequel to that with the Princess Zelda game.
I played 14 minutes of it and was like, okay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But you want something new.
My favorite thing about Zelda games is I love when they don't reuse the same art style. I like when they have something new.
So you hate Majora's Mask?
No, because Majora's Mask is not like Tears of the Kingdom.
Conceptually so different.
It's
than Ocarina of Time.
Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is like, what if we made Breath of the Wild bigger? And I'm like,
right.
No.
But Majora's Mask is like, what if we did Ocarina of Time, but it was weirder?
Yeah, what if Link passes out and then he just reimagines Hyrule in his fucked up brain?
And the moon is coming.
Yeah, and it's like incredible
so
game that has caused me so much trauma in my life.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I didn't ask. What Ocarina of Time is your favorite Zelda game?
Tied with Breath of the Wild.
And then you have Shadow of the Colossus. So what would you say are like your other two favorite games?
Pokemon Red.
It's a great game.
Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow, all of those. That first generation, Gen 1 of Pokemon. And I even like the remake that they did for Game Boy Advance, like Pokemon Fire Red, Pokemon Leaf Green. Very cute. I still kind of consider them, well, they're different, but like, whatever. It's fine.
I don't like where Pokemon is now.
Okay.
I really love that like the last Pokemon game I was obsessed with was the Platinum.
Okay, great.
I also got Black and White, and I also got Sword and Shield, but I just was like, I love the version that's the 2D side scroll version.
Yeah, it's kind of great.
Yeah.
I mean, we grew up with Pokemon, so I have always been like, man, wouldn't it be cool to have a big 3D open world, da-da-da-da-da? But then you kind of start getting closer to that, or the Pokemon, what was it, Arceus game that came out?
Yeah.
Where it's like...
There's also too many goddamn Pokemon.
Yeah, maybe.
I get it.
But they need to keep making new ones, Lisa. They're never going to stop. That's part of the thing.
I'm such a millennial where I'm like, you can stop. You can stop. There is 1,000.
They can't.
I can't even count to 1,000.
It would be great. It would be great if the next Pokemon game that they came out with, it was like the mainline regular Pokemon game. If they were like, you can get every single one. There's over 1,000, but you can get them all in this game.
You know what happened? Your Switch would explode.
Hell yeah.
Is what would happen.
Do it.
Yeah. I'm very much like, you should go back and, if you're going to keep releasing new games, you can easily go back and redo those old ones.
Yeah, for sure.
If you made a 3D version of Red and Blue, I would actually play that. But
they should, especially too, because at one point, I mean, do you remember the hype that was like, I can trade Pokemon from Red to Blue? And then they came out with Yellow here in the United States. It's like, all three of us can trade.
The cable?
And the cable with the Game Link cable and the Game Boy. And then Pokemon Gold and Silver came out on the same system. And they went, you can take Pokemon from the first game and put them over and they'll fit. But you can't take the new Pokemon into the old games, obviously, because they don't have like the code for that.
Yeah.
But like the original ones, you could pop them in there. So then people started collecting them all on the most recent sort of Pokemon game.
I also like that one of them came with a pedometer.
Yes.
That you could put the Pokemon on and you could walk around and get experience. So I would just sit in my office and go like this all day. I literally got like a ponytail to level 100 from just doing this.
Just doing this?
And I was like, oh, this arm's tired. And then it'd be like, she leveled up 17 levels.
Oh my
it's
God.
Crazy.
And at one point, there was I think it was the Nintendo DS that had the DS games, but then you could put a Game Boy Advance game on the bottom. So you could trade from that to this. So it was like with each new generation, you could still drag the Pokemon from the previous generation up with you. But at one point, they did a clean cut. They did a clean cut, and it's like, you can no longer do that.
It's also a weird...
Which is kind of weird and sad for the 1 or 2 gamers that were like, I've got all 408. And then Nintendo said, no more.
I always thought it would be weird how they would do it in 3D anyways, because it was basically like coded so that, boop, You randomly got bumped.
Yeah.
It's hard to code that when you are showing the physical Pokemon.
I know, because it just becomes this vague shadow in the bushes. And you're like, and then you run into it.
And it's terrifying.
Whatever. Anyway, the point is, video games are great.
Yeah, they're all good. Yeah.
I'm
sure we're going to keep talking about video games in future
Yeah.
episodes. We just covered it today because I had things to say.
Yeah,
as I always do. That's the thing.
And we should get back into this this conversation between video games to adaptations. I have strong thoughts.
Yeah.
Positive and negative.
Yeah. If anyone else wants to hear more about that, just let us know.
Oh, okay. Great. I have a feeling you've got strong curmudgeon-y thoughts
I
as well.
always have
you're
strong
like,
opinions.
Stop making game movies out of my games.
Yeah, or make them good.
Yeah,
that's all I ask.
Yeah.
Just make them good. That's fine. And get someone who actually plays a goddamn game to make them. The
You know-
Borderlands one that came out, I didn't even watch it. We ever forgot it existed.
I know.
You know?
I didn't watch it either. But you know what? You know why I think it's taking this long is because the generation that grew up with video games as a normal thing, our generation, and maybe a little bit older, needed to get into positions of power in Hollywood. They're not there yet.
Yeah, no.
It truly is. I'm
we
like,
we gotta kill off all these old people.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
All these executives, they're not like they're the same people that for the Academy Awards voted for, no shade, they voted for Pixar's Brave over Disney's Wreck-It Ralph because they didn't understand video games.
Oh, and Wreck-It Ralph is so
sorry,
good.
Wreck-It Ralph is a great movie and it's
So
much better than
good.
Brave, and Brave was good, but you got to give it to Wreck-It Ralph.
Well,
No,
remember,
agree?
Crash got an Academy Award.
I remember. No, I know the Academy Awards is a whole mess of a mess, but still, it's that disconnect of like, oh, you guys just don't know video games yet.
They don't realize how much money video games makes more money.
I know.
Has more engagement than
it still took like 20, 30 years for even like superhero comic books, American comic book readers to get to those levels in Hollywood to be like, no, I grew up reading comic books. I get them. I get this. I can make this movie. Oh, okay, cool. You get it. This is not a weird childish thing that you don't like.
Realizing that people just love mindless fun, and a lot of video game really is just mindless fun.
What do you make of that Minecraft movie?
It looks awful. It looks awful. It looks terrible.
It looks like an SNL sketch of a video game movie.
It does. I don't care either that much.
And also, I'm not a Minecraft guy. But
yeah, it's
hopefully kids like it.
It's definitely gonna be for kids.
And hopefully
I'm sure
it's
kids
good.
Yeah,
and funny and fun.
Yeah,
but it's
probably not.
But I don't get Minecraft. I don't get it. Can you explain Minecraft to me?
No, because
you play it, right? You don't play it.
You play it, right?
Can you explain Fortnite to me?
Fortnite is Naruto can shoot Scooby Doo, and there you go.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. Here you go. Right. It is fun though.
Lisa, any final thoughts on the state of the video game industry or the state of the entertainment industry?
I mean, I was gonna go into the what are you excited about lately?
Okay.
And
go.
I was gonna mention.
Do it.
I just played the Elden Ring network test.
What does that mean?
For the new
you mean like beta?
So the new Elden Ring coming out is called Night Rain. It is literally Elden Ring Fortnite, which is such a weird direction for the studio because studio's always done like single player RPGs, but you can co-op with friends. Like
you were invited to come play this before everybody else?
No, everyone. Oh, you got to sign up. A lot of people.
Okay.
That wasn't anything special.
Dang, I was about to say like your influencer.
Yeah, I
cred.
wish. No, it was a network beta test for the new Elden Ring Night Rain, which is like they're trying to do like this. Either 1 or 3 players, which I think is interesting.
Oh, you've talked about this before.
Yeah. It's like,
and then you made a joke and you're like, I guess I'm going to have to start a throuple.
Yep. Video games are so woke that From Software went poly on us. I'd be like, me and my player too, we saw you from across the bar and we need you to help beat the centipede demon.
That's funny.
And it's an interesting concept because the whole point of these games is that you make your own builds, and making your own builds is the best part of the game. Is like, oh yeah, like I want to be a Dex build with an Arcane. I want to be a Strength build with a Faith. Okay, this is all pre-built stuff.
I don't know what any of that stuff.
Yeah, your classes.
Got it. Dungeons and
There
Dragons
you
style.
go. Dungeons and Dragons style. You got a class, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's basically that, but in their own terms.
Now you have to work with 2 other people.
Yeah. Do you want to be a fast guy who goes, or you want to be a slow guy with big bonks?
No,
you know what I mean?
I don't like big bonks.
Or you want to shoot fire? Do you want to have? Yeah. Do you want? Yeah. You get it. But anyways, They have pre-built. They have pre-built stuff. I'm really excited because I'm like this. I think this is a kind of a cool direction of them. Even though Miyazaki's not working on it.
Go different.
But
go different.
Also, we didn't get to play with our friends. So that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
The matchmaking was off.
I see.
So I have a group.
So you had to play with these like weirdo losers.
Yeah,
some strangers.
I
You're
didn't
like,
get to play with my weirdo losers.
Yeah.
But
just
we did.
random...
We did all like have like a call together, and we were just like talking about like
cool.
the teams. It's a game that's not like Fortnite where you just get a gun and shoot people.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of teamwork.
That's cool.
Involved in this game.
When's it coming out?
In May 30th, I believe.
Oh, that's kind of soon.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll fix a lot of the feedback that people gave them, including myself. I wrote a little feedback.
Good.
I also said remaster Bloodborne in my feedback. So hopefully they'll.
I got invited 2 years ago to see an early cut of the movie The Wild Robot. And then they asked for feedback. And I gave them feedback. And they didn't take any of my feedback.
Did they change the movie at all?
No. It's
They're
like 0%.
They just want to make you feel cool. Basically.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. They were set. They're like, no, we're good. We know people are gonna like this. Hector, you're dumb. And I was like, okay.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah,
okay,
not good for me. Whatever, it's fine. Good for them. Good for DreamWorks.
What are you excited about?
What am I excited about? I am excited about
what new things are coming out that you're looking forward to.
That's a great question. Some movies this summer that I am excited about. You want to talk about like being excited for the company that you like, trying something new. I really hope that Thunderbolts movie is good. The Marvel movie.
I saw
you seen
the
a trailer for that?
for it.
What did you think about it?
I mean, I didn't. I
go ahead. Honestly,
Florence.
hit me. Yeah.
Yeah. And
who doesn't?
And
Everybody does.
She's amazing. And then
a star.
I was like, is this gonna be Marvel? Like, because they didn't say the name until the very end. I couldn't figure out what I was watching.
Good.
But I liked it.
Okay, good.
But at the same time, it's like, to me, it's like, okay, this is just. I feel bad saying this because I know Marvel fans are excited when they see these new things.
Go ahead, hit me.
But for me, it's like once I see the Marvel thing, like another one. Like that is basically what my brain goes to, and I feel bad.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay, another one.
I get it.
Okay,
I get
like
it. That's fine.
I feel like there's no pacing between their films. It's almost like video games in the sense like the RGG studios, the Yakuza games, they spit out a new fucking game every year. And I'm like, guys, I'm still catching up.
Yeah.
I still have not beat the last 2 games.
Yeah.
They released a new game last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I feel whenever I see the Marvel logo. I'm like, okay, there's another one on my list.
That you will probably not watch.
Yeah.
Another one. Yeah, I think that it's a... Yeah, it comes down to...
What is Thunderbolts? Like, what is it a... Yeah, there
Great
you
question.
go. Okay.
Great question. And we're going to probably have to save that for the next one because it's a whole involved thing. But suffice it to say, I hope that they can provide some surprises. And I hope that it can be a new, stylish, different thing that people are not expecting.
They're not like the Avengers, are they? That's what I'm trying to ask.
No, exactly. They're not.
Are they Team of Misfits?
Yeah. I
there
mean,
you go.
So are the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
but again, do you remember before the Guardians of the Galaxy first movie came out? And like what you thought about that, and then you saw that movie, and then because I love that example because people always talk about when they talk about Marvel, they're like, oh, they're doing new stuff and they shouldn't. They should just stick to all the hits, the Iron Mans, the Guardians of the Galaxy. I go, stop right there. Hang on, stop. Nobody thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a good idea when they were making it.
I didn't
it was
even know
such
what it
a
was.
risk. It was an unknown quantity. It was such a complete risk and became such a big surprise. So I just want that opportunity, like the chance for something like that to happen again.
And then they have the ride that you won't go on at Disneyland.
I did it once. Oh no, that one I don't like that.
You're like, absolutely not.
I know that one it's too up and downy.
Hell
but it's real fun.
Well,
Hell yeah.
shit. Well, maybe I'll watch it with you. You'll get it in 3D.
Yeah, you want to come
when it comes out?
You want to watch Thunderbolts
in 3D?
We'll go to the theater.
Yeah, we'll just go hop on down to the theater.
Let's do it.
And we can talk about it.
Yeah, we can if you want.
There you go.
You know? Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah, that'd be great.
I think that's a great way to end today's episode, right? Of
Yes.
Dork Souls Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.